You are sitting in a cafe, reading, completely absorbed. And then, for no reason you can identify, you look up. And someone across the room is staring directly at you. Not glancing, staring. And the moment you meet their eyes, they look away. How did you know? There was no sound, no movement in your peripheral vision, no logical reason for your head to turn in that exact direction at that exact moment. And yet something, some signal you cannot name, told you to look. Most people have experienced this, and most people have never found a satisfying explanation for it. Because the official scientific position is that this should not be possible. That human beings have no sensory mechanism capable of detecting the gaze of another person without visual input. That it is coincidence, pattern recognition, confirmation bias. But here's what they don't tell you. The experiments say otherwise. The science that was never supposed to exist. In the 1990s, a psychologist named Rupert Sheldrake began conducting what became one of the most replicated and most controversial series of experiments in modern psychology. The staring experiments. The setup was simple. One person sits with their back to another. The person behind either stares at the back of their neck or looks away, randomly determined by coin flip. The person in front presses a button to indicate whether they feel they are being watched or not. Random chance predicts a 50% accuracy rate. The results across thousands of trials and hundreds of participants showed consistent accuracy rates between 55 and 60%. That sounds small, but in statistics that gap, sustained across thousands of trials, is not small at all. It represents a probability against chance so high that in any other field of science it would be considered significant evidence of a real effect. The experiments were replicated by different researchers in different countries with tighter controls. The results held. The scientific establishment did not celebrate these findings, it attacked them, because the findings implied something the current model of human perception has no room for, a form of sensing that operates outside the known five senses. And that possibility, even as a hypothesis, is considered deeply threatening to the established framework. Your nervous system knows things your conscious mind does not. Before we go further, understand something important. The debate about whether the staring effect is real is separate from the question of how it works. And the how question has some genuinely unsettling candidate answers. The first candidate is the peripheral nervous system. Your body is constantly processing vastly more information than your conscious mind receives. Your skin has mechanoreceptors sensitive to pressure changes in air. Your auditory system can detect sound frequencies and spatial information below the threshold of conscious hearing. Your visual system processes directional light and movement data that never reaches conscious awareness. It is entirely plausible, within mainstream neuroscience, that some combination of these subsystems detects the focused attention of a nearby human being through physical signals too subtle for conscious awareness to register. A person staring at you is different from a person looking away. Their breathing changes, their muscle tension changes. The micro-movements of their body orient toward you differently. The electromagnetic field produced by their visual cortex, measurable with sensitive equipment, changes when their gaze is directed versus averted. Your body may be detecting one or more of these signals and sending an alert upward to consciousness as a feeling of being watched, with no ability to tell you where the signal came from. That is the conservative explanation, and it is already remarkable. But some cases go further than the conservative explanation can reach. There are documented cases where the feeling of being watched occurred through barriers, through walls, through windows the watched person could not see through from their position, across distances that make the physical signal hypothesis increasingly strained. There are cases documented in surveillance and security contexts, where trained observers notice their subjects becoming alert, covering themselves, moving differently, at the exact moment the surveillance began, before any physical cue could have transmitted the information. There are consistent reports from predator-prey dynamics in the animal kingdom, where prey animals orient toward concealed predators with no visual, auditory, or olfactory explanation available, where the only thing that changed was the quality of the predator's attention. These cases do not fit neatly into the peripheral nervous system explanation, something that the current framework of neuroscience and physics does not have a satisfying name for. The field theory of consciousness. Here is where the science gets genuinely strange. Some physicists and consciousness researchers have proposed that consciousness is not simply a product of brain activity contained within the skull, that it generates or interacts with fields of information that extend beyond the physical boundary of the body. This is not mysticism. It is a legitimate scientific hypothesis being explored at institutions including Princeton University, through the Peer Laboratory, and the Institute of Noetic Sciences. The research is controversial. It is also documented, and it proposes a mechanism for the staring effect that the peripheral nervous system model cannot account for. If conscious attention generates a measurable field, if the act of directing focused awareness at another person produces some kind of information structure that extends outward from the observer, then the sensation of being watched could be the target's nervous system detecting that field directly, not through the 5 known senses, through a mechanism we do not yet have instruments sensitive enough to fully measure. The implication is profound. It means that when you look at another person with focused attention, you are doing something to the space between you, not metaphorically, physically. And under certain conditions, in certain people with certain sensory sensitivity, that something can be felt. Why some people feel it more than others? This is the part most researchers avoid discussing, because it implies something that does not sit comfortably in the materialist framework. The staring effect is not equally distributed. Some people feel it consistently and reliably, others almost never, and the difference does not appear to map cleanly onto any known physiological variable. What it does appear to map onto in the available research is interoceptive sensitivity, the ability to perceive internal body signals accurately. People who are highly attuned to their own physiological state, their own heart rate, their own breathing patterns, their own subtle physical sensations, are more likely to detect the staring effect reliably. Their internal antenna is more sensitive. Their ability to distinguish signal from noise in their own body is greater. This suggests something important. The capacity to feel when you are being watched is not a special power held by a gifted few. It is a sensitivity that varies across a spectrum, and that sensitivity can be trained. Not through mystical practice, through the same interoceptive training that athletes and meditators and highly skilled therapists use to sharpen their reading of the body's continuous stream of sub-threshold signals. What your instincts are actually telling you. Here is the practical truth that the debate around the staring effect often obscures. Whether the mechanism is peripheral sensory detection, field interaction, or something else entirely, the signal itself is real in the sense that matters. People feel it, it prompts behavior, and that behavior is often appropriate. The feeling of being watched has kept human beings alive for hundreds of thousands of years. In an environment full of predators and rival humans with hostile intent, the ability to detect unwanted attention was not a luxury, it was survival. The nervous system that evolved in that environment was under enormous pressure to develop exactly this kind of sensitivity, to detect the quality of another being's attention before that attention became a visible threat. That ancient capacity did not disappear when the predators did. It is still running, still monitoring, still sending alerts upward to a conscious mind that in the modern world often dismisses them as imagination or coincidence. But they are not coincidence. They are the oldest warning system you possess. And every time you feel that someone is watching you, and you are right, your body knew something your conscious mind had not yet been told. If you reach this moment, write in the comments the word "watched" and tell us, have you ever felt someone staring at you before you could have known? Tell us what happened. We read every comment. subscribe and turn on the bell, because the next video reveals something even deeper about the invisible signals your body sends and receives every day that your conscious mind will never know about. Until then, trust the feeling. It has been protecting you longer than your conscious mind has existed.